Every family has that one golden child who can do no wrong. For us, it was my 13-year-old cousin Leela. Her secret weapon? Tears. One whimper, one fake sob, and suddenly every family event bent to her will, whether it was music, cake, or the remote. For years I swallowed it, told to be the bigger person. But when I finally noticed the pattern, that the crying only started when the adults walked into the room, I knew something darker was happening. Then I overheard my aunt coaching her daughter to cry on cue, and everything inside me snapped. No revenge, just boundaries. I brought a fairness board to dinner. My dad backed me, and for the first time the spell broke. But not before our family cracked wide open. That is the story I am about to tell you, and it begins right here. She gets the remote because she cried? Then I am leaving. That is what I said, out loud in front of my entire family, while my younger cousin clutched the remote like it was a life raft and fat crocodile tears trembled on her lashes. I am male, 22 years old. My cousin Leela is 13 and apparently queen of the living room. My mother, hand hovering over a tray of Sprite cans, shot me that look. Be the bigger person. My aunt folded her arms. My uncle cleared his throat. And Grandma, who believes silent grandchildren are happy grandchildren, gave Leela a pity smile that might as well have been a crown. Leela sniffed, tucked her chin, and squeaked, "I only wanted to watch my show," like a violin string being plucked. If you are wondering whether I caved, no, not this time. I told everyone that for once we were watching the movie we had already chosen. 8 of us voted. 1 did not. Democracy should mean something, right? Leela did not argue with me. She turned and sprinted right to the kitchen where the parents were, and she flipped the switch. Her face crumpled. The first sob came like she had practiced it in a mirror. Her shoulders shook. My aunt hustled back in with Leela pressed against her apron. "She's the youngest," she said. That line again, like a car alarm for common sense. My mom pressed the remote into Leela's hand. "She didn't win," I said. "She weaponized tears." My dad, who had just walked in with a bowl of salsa, put it down and said in his steady coach voice, "Why are you crying when you know crying will not get you what you want?" Leela froze. The tears stopped like someone pulled the plug on a bathtub. For a flicker of a second, the queen had no kingdom. We watched the first 5 minutes of our movie. Then the pizza arrived, the doorbell exploded the peace, and everyone pretended that storm never happened. But I could feel the question drilling into my skull the entire night. Do I blow this up and finally say what I think of the whole "but she's younger" doctrine, or do I play peacemaker like always? And if I blow it up, can I live with what might follow? "You are going to regret this," my aunt whispered to me as she put a paper plate of pepperoni in my hand. Her breath smelled like mint and threat. Maybe I would regret it. Maybe I would regret not doing it sooner. Either way, this was not over. Not by a shot. Crying was her cheat code. People think this is about a remote. It is not. It is popcorn bowls, slices of cake, front seats in the car, the window seat on the plane to Miami, the last cookie at Thanksgiving, the hoodie off my back because she was cold, and who chooses the music on every ride to Grandma's. It is 1,000 small cuts. When I was 9, I took the blame for Leela breaking the snow globe because you are older, you should have known better. When I was 15, Leela got a phone at 10. I had to wait until I was 16. Different rules, same justification. My friend Ivy, female, 21 years old, laughs about it sometimes. Black humor, the kind you use to keep from screaming. My little sister would break my headphones, and I had to apologize for yelling, she told me once over churros dusted with cinnamon at La Paloma on Maple Street. I started calling my house a dictatorship. She cried, I was sanctioned. Ivy is sarcastic about everything. It is her armor. And then there is my cousin Ray, older than me, 25, who did everything right. First to graduate college in our branch of the family, steady job as an EMT. But Aunt Lisa, different aunt, treats his dropout cousin as the golden child because she had a kid at 18. That kid says a full sentence and the entire room applauds like she cured cancer. Ray jokes, but his mouth goes a little tight at the edges. I can save a guy in cardiac arrest, and Grandma will still say, "Did you hear little Milo counted to 10 in Spanish?" He grins. He is not joking. He is bleeding in a way you cannot see. We all gather in the same small orbit of holidays and slow cooker meals. We all have learned the choreography, the sigh, the shrug, the let her have it, she is the youngest. But there is a line between protecting a kid and turning them into a god. And lately, Leela has been testing what the godhood can buy. The last straw before the remote was the cake incident. Grandma's 75th, lemon chiffon with raspberry filling that smelled like summer. I cut equal slices like a math prodigy with a knife. Leela looked at hers, looked at mine, and started to cry. She wanted mine because mine was on the prettier plate. I am not making that up. My aunt said, "Give it to her, Marco. She is the baby." Is comparing children a form of abuse? I am not trying to be dramatic. I am trying to describe what favoritism does when it is baked in. It makes one kid a mirror and the other a shadow. It makes someone think no is a personal attack rather than a boundary. It makes family feel like an obstacle course where someone else always starts on the last lap. And here is the part nobody likes. Resentment does not die with cake. It grows teeth. Favoritism is just lazy love. Last Sunday, everyone was at Grandma's again. The kitchen smelled like garlic bread and fried onions. Leela wanted control of the Bluetooth speaker. We had already listened to her bubblegum pop playlist for an hour. I suggested we switch. "No," she said, "I am still listening." I told her it was my turn. Leela made eye contact with me like a cat about to push a glass off a table. She crumpled. She walked to the adults. My aunt came in like a prosecutor. "Why do you insist on antagonizing her?" The living room went quiet, except for the hum of the fridge and a television screensaver glow. My mom said, "Marco, please pick your battles." My dad stayed still as a lamppost. Then Ivy, bless her chaos, chimed in from the couch where she had a plate of garlic knots. "Maybe stop rewarding tears," she said around a mouthful. Just a thought. My aunt's eyebrows shot up so high they nearly evacuated. Leela sniffed louder. I felt like a villain in my own house, and then I felt something worse. Ashamed for existing loudly next to a quiet crier. If you have to cry to win, maybe you do not deserve the win, I said before I could stuff the words back into my mouth. Leela flinched like I had slapped her. My mom gasped. My aunt pointed at me. "Apologize." Dad finally spoke. He does not owe an apology for asserting a reasonable boundary. His voice has that gravelly calm that makes people listen. In the silence, I heard the neighbor's wind chimes through the open window and smelled someone's charcoal grill. Leela's tears stopped again, that strange click like a faucet. If this was a pattern, I wanted to understand the machinery. So I started watching more closely. The tears came when adults entered the room, not when we were alone. The tears were on a timer. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house had that post-dinner smell of dish soap and leftover marinara. I kept thinking about my dad's line and Leela's instant off switch. And then the first hard question slid into my mind like a knife. Should I confront my parents about treating us unequally? Not just mine, all of them. Because as long as my aunt and mom kept pulling out the "she is younger" card, this would never end. Ivy texted me at 2 in the morning. I stand by what I said. Crying is not currency. I hearted it and stared at the ceiling. I was tired of being the responsible one so adults could outsource their backbone to me. You cannot fix a family with a push notification, but I tried. I made coffee for my dad, sat at the sticky kitchen table where the placemat smells faintly like orange cleaner, and asked him how he did it, how he saw through the performance. He shrugged. "I have coached middle school basketball for 15 years," he said. "I know when a kid is hurt and when a kid is acting hurt." Then he looked at me. "I also know you, son. You bottle things." He is right. I am a champagne bottle with too much shaken inside. We planned a small conversation with the adults, not an ambush, a conversation. Ivy told me to make bullet points. She also told me to bring snacks. "No one hears hard truths on an empty stomach," she said, shoving a bag of kettle chips at me. At 7 that evening, we gathered in Grandma's living room. The beige couch had that grandma smell of lavender and old books. The ceiling fan clicked. I spoke first. I said I wanted us to be consistent about fairness, that she is the younger card had become a get-out-of-consequences card, and that it was hurting our relationships, mine with Leela, and honestly, my trust in the adults. My mom's mouth thinned. My aunt rolled her eyes so hard it sounded like a slot machine. "She is a child," my aunt said. "You are an adult." "Then treat me like one," I said. "Do not ask me to be the parent when things are messy and a child when you want me to shut up." Ivy let out an impressed little whistle. Dad squeezed my shoulder. Grandma folded her hands and watched, like she was praying for the room to be softer. My aunt started to deny the pattern. "You always exaggerate," she said. "You make her sound manipulative. She is sensitive." It felt like I was being gaslit. The denial was so smooth it almost made me doubt the remote in my memory. I had the urge to record everything, to keep a diary of tears. It made me think of another question I was terrified to ask aloud. Do you think favoritism ruined sibling relationships forever? We are cousins, not siblings, but the fracture feels the same. We did not solve it that night. Of course we did not. We ate kettle chips and apple slices and eventually drifted to safer topics like weather and a neighbor's new fence. That is what families do. Dodge. But I felt a shift. Not big, a click. Like the first dent in the armor of "she is the youngest." And then, hours later, I tripped over the twist I never saw coming. I had come back to Grandma's to pick up a jacket and the notebook I had left. The house was quiet, that late-night echo after company leaves. I heard voices in the kitchen, my aunt's, Leela's. They did not know I was there. I stopped by the hallway where the framed photos lined the wall. My kindergarten graduation, Ray in his EMT uniform, Grandma and Grandpa at Coney Island 50 years ago. The kitchen light was on, casting a strip of gold across the linoleum. "You have to start sooner," my aunt was saying. Her voice was low, threaded with urgency. "If you wait until he says no, it looks fake. By the time I get there, I need you crying already. Do you understand?" My stomach dropped. The kettle chips in my memory turned to gravel. Leela said, small and frightened, "What if he tells Papa? He knows when I fake." "Your uncle is not your parent," my aunt replied. I could hear a spoon clinking against a mug. "I will handle him." A beat. "If you want people to listen, you have to make them feel." I did not move for a whole minute. The fridge hummed as if it was the only thing breathing. I thought of every time I had been told to be the bigger person. I thought of my dad's line. I thought of Leela's Kears switching off like a faucet. And then I realized my aunt did not want a peaceful house. She wanted control of it. She had been coaching Leela like a stage mom trains a toddler for pageants, except the crown was compliance. I stepped into the kitchen doorway, and the look my aunt gave me would have frozen a wildfire. Leela's eyes went wide, panicked. My aunt recovered fast. "Marco," she said, her smile a knife. "What are you doing here?" I held up my spiral notebook. "Forgot this," I said, and picked up something else. "What did you hear?" she demanded. "I heard you teach a child that crying is strategy," I said. "I heard you say you will handle my dad. And I heard enough to be done." My aunt opened her mouth, closed it. Leela looked at me like she wanted me to be gentler. She is 13, not a villain, just living in the world the adults built. That part hurts the most. I did not sleep. Again. At 7 the next morning, I texted my dad and asked him to meet me at the park where he used to take me to shoot hoops. The asphalt smelled like damp leaves. We sat on the bench under the sycamore, and I told him everything. He listened without blinking. His jaw twitched once. "We are going to fix this," he said, "but we are going to be clean, not cruel." Clean, not cruel. I took that with me like a compass. Ivy came over and we made a plan. Not revenge, boundaries. We decided that at the next family dinner, we would propose a simple rotating rule for decisions that affect the whole room. Music, movies, games, even seat choice. We would write it on a whiteboard in the kitchen with names and dates. We would make it so boringly fair that anyone resisting would look ridiculous. Ivy also made me print a small note for myself. The questions I keep dodging because they feel like landmines. Would you demand equal treatment as an adult? And the quiet whisper under it? If they will not give it, will you walk away? Saturday came. The air outside smelled like rain on hot pavement. I brought a whiteboard and dry erase markers and a canvas tote that said, "Support your local library." We were barely in the door before Leela asked for the first song choice. My aunt smiled at me like a fox in a henhouse. My mom said my name in the voice that means, "Do not ruin this." "New plan," I said, and set the whiteboard on the kitchen counter. I wrote "Family Fairness Board" at the top and explained the rotation. Each person gets a turn to choose one shared thing that evening. There is a visible list, so there is no arguing. Crying does not change the list. Nothing does. If someone tries to skip the line, they lose their next turn. Consequences are part of the game. My dad nodded once. Grandma, curious, put on her glasses and peered like it was a puzzle. Ivy leaned on the doorway and gave me a thumbs up with a piece of celery. My aunt laughed. Loudly. "You are going to bureaucratize dinner?" she said. "This is absurd." "Fairness is not absurd," I said. "It is just louder when you have not used it in a while." "Marco, this is not necessary," my mom said softly. "We can just be kind." "We tried kind," I said. "Kind got turned into a weapon." Leela, watching the adults more than me, started to puff up her cheeks. I could feel the sob power up beginning. But here is the strange thing. With the board out, with the rules visible like multiplication tables, the tears looked off script. Leela looked, just for a second, embarrassed. Kids know when the game is rigged. They also know when they are being used to rig it. It took exactly 20 minutes for things to heat up. Ray got to choose the music first. He put on a jazz playlist and swayed a little, goofy and sweet. Grandma got her seat by the window. Ivy chose the card game. Then Leela's turn came up for choosing the first slice of garlic bread. She smiled, triumphant, and used her power. No one complained. The board worked. The board was boring. And boring is the enemy of manipulation. Halfway through dinner, Leela knocked over her soda. Grandma flinched but did not yell. My aunt swooped in with a napkin, eyes cutting to me. Leela's face went pale. This was her cue. I waited. Nothing. She pouted. My aunt looked annoyed. The machine had jammed. After dinner, it was my turn on the board. I chose the movie. I picked a documentary about mountain climbers because I knew nobody would care enough to die on this hill, and any resistance would look silly. 5 minutes in, my aunt stood up. "Leela is tired," she announced. "She wants to watch something lighter. Be kind." "No," I said, calm as water. "It is my turn. She can ask for something else when it is her turn again." "I am her mother," my aunt snapped. "I can—" My dad stood, slow. "You can comfort your daughter," he said. "You cannot break a rule we all agreed to 5 minutes ago." My aunt pivoted to Leela. "Sweetheart," she said, "do you want to watch your show?" Her voice did the coaxing lilt, the golden key. Leela looked between the board and me and her mother. Then she sat down. "It is his turn," she muttered. She picked up a garlic knot and gnawed on it like a squirrel hiding in shame. I did not feel triumphant. I felt sad, relief and grief at once. Because the twist under the twist is this. Leela did not invent this game. She inherited it. She learned that tears are a lever because we showed her the machinery and applauded when she pulled. And the person who built the machine was standing in front of me, furious that the lever had jammed. "Would you rather be the ignored or the golden child?" Ivy whispered next to me, watching Leela. The question hit different when you see the cost of the crown. My aunt did not speak to me for a week. My mom used a lot of sighs. Grandma called me to ask if I could pick up more dry erase markers because she wanted to use the board for chore rotations. Ray, grinning, texted me that it was the first holiday he did not feel like background noise. Leela sent me a 3-word text, "I am sorry." Then 5 minutes later, "For real." Teen brevity, world-changing meaning. I told her I was not her enemy. I told her I know adults hand kids some heavy tools without any instructions, and that letting go of them is hard because they feel like protection. I told her she could have my hoodie when she is actually cold. She sent back a laughing emoji and a heart. I cried in my car, which I am sure would delight the irony gods. A week later, my aunt cornered me by the coat rack at Grandma's condo. "You humiliated me," she said. "You turned my daughter into an experiment." "You turned her into a weapon," I said. My voice shook. It still felt wrong to talk back to an adult who had tied my shoelaces when I was small. I am trying to turn her back. My aunt's eyes went glassy, the first honest cracks. "You do not understand how hard it is to be a mother." "I do not," I said, and that was the truest thing. "But I understand what it is like to be made responsible for everyone else's peace because I am older, and I am done paying that tax." I took a breath. Should I confront my parents about treating us unequally? I had already done it. The harder line waited behind it, waiting like a cliff. Would you walk away from family over unfair treatment? I did not want to. I wanted us to be better than our old scripts. Is comparing children a form of abuse? It is, sometimes, when it turns into a habit that erases a kid's personhood. I did not say the questions out loud this time. I held them like stepping stones. Later that night, my dad caught me in the kitchen washing a coffee mug that smelled like hazelnut. "You were clean," he said, "not cruel." I nodded. Then he nudged me. "Go write your story." He knows I write when I cannot breathe. So here I am, telling you all of this like a campfire gossip that got out of hand. I do not think I am a hero. I think I am a tired, older cousin who finally decided to stop being the family's shock absorber. I think Leela is a kid learning that love is not measured in surrendered remotes. I think my aunt is a woman who mistook silence for harmony and control for care. And I think my dad's line should be printed on a billboard. Why are you crying when you know crying will not get you what you want? Not because tears are bad, but because tears should be for pain, not power. Ray stopped by my place last night with takeout, sesame chicken that made the whole apartment smell like soy and comfort, and told me Grandma used the board to rotate who gets the biggest slice of pie, and nobody died. He also told me Aunt Lisa bragged about Milo reciting the alphabet backward, and Grandma said, deadpan, Ray resuscitated a man on 4th Street. We both laughed until the noodles went cold. Sometimes it takes a whiteboard. Sometimes it just takes someone saying the quiet part out loud. Here is where I leave you with the last questions I am still carrying like pebbles in my pocket. Do you think favoritism ruins sibling relationships forever? Would you demand equal treatment as an adult? Should I confront my parents about treating us unequally? And, maybe the biggest one for me, is comparing children a form of abuse? I do not ask that to break us. I ask it to see if we have the courage to fix what is cracked. He did not cheat. He broke the rules of love. No revenge montage, no screaming match. Just a boring board and a kid who learned that crying is not a remote control. The next family dinner, Leela chose the music without crying. She sat by the window and told me about a dance she wants to try, her voice bright, unarmored. And when the garlic bread came out, she picked the second biggest piece on purpose and said, "You can take the first. You are older." Then she laughed. We both did. For once, the laughter felt like air, not apology. And that is when I realized being loved fairly should not require earning it.